The offensive line, man. The offensive line is going through it. Let's just say that. They're going through it. We've had a ton of injuries. One of the things that was supposed to be one of the offensive line strengths this year is the depth. Well, that depth has been tested. Now, I will say this: the depth of the offensive line was because of the tackles. We drafted 2 tackles. We'd had a 3-year starter at tackle, even though Dan Moore Jr. hadn't played great in the previous 3 years. That was one of the positions. Okay, we got a little depth here, especially if we replace Dan Moore Jr. with, and he was the backup to the 2 guys that we drafted in the last 2 first rounds. It's like, okay, we got a guy that started 3 years that's going to be the backup tackle. We got something here. Injuries and bad play and all of that has sucked the life completely out of that. We got another offensive lineman down for the year, James Daniels. Even before that, we had Nate Herbig go down for the year. It's just been a brutal season so far for the offensive line. With Nick Frazier going down, we think Nick Frazier is going to be back for the Jets game. They're talking it's an ankle sprain. We know how tough he is. Hell, the man didn't jog, but he hopped off the field last year with a broken leg to save West Virginia timeout. So it's just been a brutal situation for the offensive line as far as injuries. Look, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, and I'm not sure how it's going to get better, but Broderick Jones seems to be getting worse game by game by game. He just seems to be getting worse. Last week was the worst run blocking that he did all season long. All season long. I just don't know what else to do or to say, man. I get it. Look, I was the first person to admit I think he's hurt. Okay? I think that elbow ligament in your arm, I think it's torn because he told us that. He said it's not going to get any better. Well, if some guys out there, when they asked him about the brace, hey, it's not going to get any better, that means you have to have surgery. So he needs surgery, I believe. It's either that or it's a torn bicep muscle. One of the two. Okay. So it's not going to get any better. But we can't continue to excuse that for bad play. We just can't do it, man. We just can't do it. But he's getting worse. He's getting worse. Now we're at the point where he doesn't know assignments, which is, that has nothing to do with your physicality. Now it's a mental part of it. And I know that he's a left tackle, and I think the Steelers have handled him completely wrong. Should have been at left tackle from the very beginning. But, man, it's just brutal. Just brutal. Got our first super chat of the day. My man, Tony H. Henderson. What's going on, Tony? We appreciate you showing up and showing out, man. Thank you for joining the chat. Thank you very much. You got a question or a statement, man, make sure you put it down there. We will put it up for you. We appreciate you. But, yeah, Broderick he's just, I don't know. I don't know, man. If you got any words of encouragement, let's just start sending them some words of encouragement, because continuously talking about how bad he is not getting any better. So we might as well just fake the funk and just say, hey, Broderick, let's go, man. Keep playing, keep battling. But he's not battling. I think that's part of the problem. He's not battling. And I think that's why people are frustrated. Dan Moore Jr., what are we going to do about Dan Moore Jr.? Let's talk about that for a second. Like, what are we going to do with him? Because for 3 years, Dan Moore Jr. played bad football. He just did. He played bad football. This year, Dan Moore Jr. is playing good football. Last game, let's move past that. But for the most part, he's played good football this year. He really has. Well, okay. So now what do? We got Troy Fautanu coming off of surgery, but he's going to be your starting right tackle. Had the Steelers just given up on Broderick Jones? I don't think you give up on that. I don't think they can afford to give up on that. Do they say go battle and be the left tackle? Well, I thought they did that this year. What? That's my whole thing. You let him compete for the job. Did he not win it? Is that the issue? Because he got hurt in training camp, but he wasn't the starting left tackle at training camp. So I'm like, what are we doing? I don't know. It just seems like it's a mockery. It seems ridiculous, to be honest with you. But Dan Moore Jr. is going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Do you sign that guy back? I mean, if you do, then what? Do you dare move Broderick Jones to guard? Because I don't think the Steelers should give up on him. You know, you can't give up on him. But would you move him to guard? Is that a possibility? I mean, we've seen it with other guys before. We've seen it with guys that didn't work out at tackle, moved them to guard, and they were just fine. I don't know. I don't think that's really the answer. I think Broderick Jones is just a left tackle. I think you got to put him out there and let him win the job and let the chips fall where they may with Dan Moore Jr. Um, if he leaves, he leaves, which he's probably going to leave because Dan Moore Jr., if he keeps playing the way that he's playing right now, he's going to get a big bag from somebody to go be their left tackle. So, and I know Steeler fans are like, really? Yeah, really. Y'all know Steelers Almighty. Y'all know our motto. Last year, your contract, you turn it on. Well, Dan Moore Jr. is turning it on. He's trying to get paid. And it's helping. He's playing good football. He's playing good football. So I don't know what you do there. That'll be an interesting offseason measure on what you do. Steelers definitely need to start spending some money on the offensive side of the football, but it'll be interesting to see what they do because there's going to be TJ Watt comes up in a couple of years. What are we going to do with Minka? I think Minka's going to have to restructure his contract. That's going to happen. Sorry. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, you can't give up on Broderick. You got to let him try to win the left tackle job. That's why you drafted him. And if you just lose Dan Moore Jr., that would mean this. I don't know. The Steelers just messed this entire thing up. But we've seen that. We've seen it. I do think the Steelers got something in Mason McCormick. I do. If they can just teach the guy technique, again, I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million more. Pat Meyer's not the guy to teach that. I get it. We need a new offensive line coach. Pat Meyer is terrible. He is. But Mason McCormick has all the aggression that you need. All he needs to be is taught some technique. Just taught some technique. Because his aggression and his strength, it's there. His athleticism, it's there. Just teach him some technique, man. Just teach him some technique. Some good footwork. Make him work in the offseason. And I think we got something with this 4th-round pick. I really believe it. Because he's not playing horrible right now. He's wild and just out there right now. But he's not playing bad. He's not. So we really do need to hope that 54 is okay this year, though. We got to hope that 54 is fine and that he can come back and play this week. Because Steelers have a chance to win this football game against the Jets. They do. The Jets are going through it. Their offensive line, you think our offensive line is bad or has had its problems. The Jets' offensive line is atrocious. It is atrocious. They can't pass block to save their life. And they got a future Hall of Famer on it, too, by the way, and Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith, people say that Russell Wilson is washed. Tyron Smith has been washed. He was washed the very first snap of this season. He can't play left tackle anymore. And people wondered why Dallas gave up on him after he was a second-team All-Pro last year. This is why. He can no longer play. So 54 has got to get out there because the Steelers got a chance, man. The Steelers got a chance. So somebody in the chat said Dan Moore is trash. You're not watching football, my man. You're not watching the Steelers. All you're doing is equating what he was. And he was trash for 3 years. He's not trash this year. He's just not. And if you're saying that, you're just saying it and you're just, you just want to be cool on the internet. I get it. I get it. But we got to figure something out with the offensive line. We got to figure something out with the offensive line. I just feel bad because I don't know what happened to Broderick Jones. I really don't. Other than he's probably upset that he can't play left tackle. I get that. And he might be upset. Not might be. He's definitely upset at being hurt. So he can't do all the things that he can do. But the effort, it's still got to be there, man. The effort has still got to be there. So